Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, it is my review of the 1976 Spanish horror film, Who Can Kill a Child? Now, this is a film that is pretty obscure, but there are some people who really like this movie. This is like a film that has gotten a lot of newfound appraisal over the years as it's been rediscovered. It was even on a list of top 100 horror films of all time by, I think it was Slant or Slate magazine. And it got a release on Blu ray from Mondo Macabro. But I gotta be honest, I didn't even know this film even existed until I was requested to check it out by a Patreon supporter of mine. And before I go any further sharing my thoughts on this film, though, I want to give a special shout out to Ryan for requesting this film. Now, Who Can Kill a Child is a Spanish horror film, and it's directed by Narcisos Ibáñez Serrador. And I will give the film this. It features some great direction. I think the direction is very reminiscent of some of the best you would see from Italian horror from around this time. It almost gave me vibes of like Mario Bava, Ruggero Deodato, um, maybe early Argento. There's not really a lot of giallo elements in this in terms of like its style or the way that the direction is ultimately framed or the shots are utilized, but it's a film that to me still showcases some significant talent behind the camera. It's a movie that visually, I think, creates some tension all its own and creates some genuine creepy atmosphere. I wish the film as a whole was more satisfying and was a lot more exciting. But the direction is something that I really did like about this movie. It's one of the main reasons why I was willing to stick through to the end when it comes to this film, even though it was not really the most compelling a film overall for me, because I wanted to see what this director was going to do next. Like, he had some really great looking wide shots, some good tight shots, good usage of framing to really emphasize the eerie atmosphere, and also some nice usage of other sort of shots, like some pans and zooms and traveling shots. It's a film that definitely features some really solid, really effective direction. The screenplay, on the other hand, by Luis Penefiel, which is based on, I guess it's a book called El Juego de los Niños. That's where this film loses me. This story is, in a lot of ways, ahead of its time because it's a film that ultimately is about a island town that has been taken over by children who have killed pretty much every adult that was on the island, and they are now the only denizens. And this is very reminiscent of other sort of films that you would see years later, like Children of the Corn, and so on and so forth. But out of the killer kids genre, this is honestly one of the more forgettable films to me that I've seen because it takes itself too seriously. That's a definite problem with this. I'm okay with a little bit of seriousness because I think there are some things to be said in terms of social commentary involving a killer kid movie, but only to a certain degree. Because if you take it too seriously, then it just becomes boring and then it becomes ridiculous because you don't take the kids seriously as a threat, like as a serious threat. If it's over the top and it's willing to embrace the silliness of the idea, then that's something that I think works a lot better. Because trying to take it way too seriously or not having some sort of supernatural connection to things, or the kids just have normal strength and normal abilities and they're still doing all of this, it just makes it more incredulous and it makes it hard to take it really with that much seriousness. And I think right from the beginning, this film makes a grave mistake by opening the film up with real life footage of kids suffering in Nazi concentration camps, or kids suffering from starvation, or kids dealing with the loss of limbs, or kids dealing with napalm burns in what looks like a documentary with black and white footage and narration. It comes across as exploitative to me personally. It doesn't really add anything to the film. I really don't think it adds anything to the movie other than pure shock value, because I can't really think of why it's there. Because if anything, it just undermines the film, because it undermines the actions of the kids. It undermines the violence that you see later on. It immediately throws real horror, and that's how it starts out. It throws it right in your face. And I was not ready for that. And I gotta be honest, it took me out of the film right from the beginning because of this just random montage of just disturbing, horrific footage of children suffering. And I can't even think of really the reason for it, even a social commentary reason. There was like a little callback to it on a documentary that was showing in a shop later on. And then the shopkeeper talked about how in war, the children suffer the most. I'm like, okay, well, you don't need to have that footage at the beginning then. You could just have that one little bit of a documentary clip at the shop. Why did you have to open up the movie that way? And what I mean by it undermining the violence or the intensity of the film is that when you see the kids doing actions like beating up adults or attacking them, it pales in comparison to what happens in real life, which you already saw in terms of like real torture and real suffering and real death. So I don't really I don't understand the thought process. I think it was very misguided. So from the beginning, it just does not start off very well, and it really makes it feel like you're watching a Mondo film, which I don't like those films. Period. I think they are pure exploitation. And it cuts from that to this couple named Tom and Evelyn, who are taking a vacation somewhere in Spain before the birth of their third child. I don't know why this woman, Evelyn, wants to go overseas and go to some strange land while she's like 6 months pregnant. But I guess that's her call. But like, really? Like, of all the times to go on vacation, you're gonna choose when you're 6 months pregnant, and you're gonna go to a strange land, and it just doesn't make any sense to me. It sounds like a disaster waiting to happen. But okay, all right. She and her husband go on this vacation. They arrive on this island after they decide not to stay on the mainland because it's too busy and it's too loud and it's too chaotic. I mean, they're lighting off fireworks like almost every night. So, yeah, I can definitely see why they don't want to stay there. They hear about this island from the shopkeeper, and or it's an island that the husband went to years ago. And they get on a boat and they go to this island. And as soon as they get to the dock, things are already very suspicious. There's a bunch of kids just wandering around without any supervision, without any adults. I'm just a skeptical person by nature. So as soon as I would have seen that, I would have been like, okay, this is fishy. This is sketchy. We're turning the boat around. I'm not about to let something happen to my kid, my unborn kid, and to my wife. This just seems off. This kid is giving me a weird, dirty look. It just doesn't seem like this is going to be a good idea. Like, where are the adults? There's no adults here at all. There's just like a whole group of kids, and there's no adults anywhere. The parents are nowhere to be seen. So I would have been like, yeah, nope, I'm out of here. But then the movie would have been over like in the first 20 minutes. So you have to keep the story going. I get it. But oh my god, the writing it really writes these characters, Tom and Evelyn, as a bunch of idiots. Like morons for a majority of the movie. Because there are multiple instances where the reaction should have been an immediate hell to the no and we're getting out of here. But it's delayed like numerous times. Like even after Tom sees an old man get beat to death by a young girl with a bat or a cane, he just grabs the body and I guess he puts it in a house across from the hotel he was staying at or whatever, or the market he was at. And I'm like, okay. And then he goes in and lies to his wife afterwards and gives her this bullshit story telling telling her that he's okay. And that's after he already saw the body being used as a piñata by the kids because they found it and then he went in and heard them playing and opened a door and then saw them using the dead body as a piñata. And then after that happens, he just lies to his wife and says that everything's okay and the guy's still alive. I'll give the writer this. He has the wife actually call him out on his bullshit. He's like, "Oh, come on, tell me the truth." And he's like, "No, he's fine." It's like, "Well, I don't care. This is just weird. I don't like this. We need to get out of here." And you think that okay, well, the wife is the one that has the brains here. Not really, because then later on, when they get a hold of a car, like a Jeep, and they're trying to get to the dock, and what's blocking them is a bunch of kids, she swerves the Jeep out of the way. Cause she doesn't want to hurt any of the children. I'm like, give me a fucking break. These kids have already been known to like kill people. They've killed numerous adults on this island. You know this. You already mentioned how you didn't want to be here anymore. And now you're like, no, I can't. We can't. I'm like, no, run those fuckers over. Get to the fucking dock and get out of here. But no, no. Instead, grabs the wheel, swerves, they crash, and then later on she dies anyway because her unborn child is corrupted by whatever this curse is that the children are affected with. Which I will give the screenwriter this. That was a pretty disturbing, twisted bit of business. So I'll give the writer some credit for having the balls to go there. I think you should have saved it for the end. Instead, you didn't have to have her swerve away. Just have it. Okay, they drive through the kids, but then because there's so many kids, they wind up like crashing afterwards. And then you still have the thing where they have to hold themselves up, and then You have the bit of suspense where one of the kids gets a gun and sneaks up behind the wife and is about to pull the trigger until he gets shot in the head by the husband, by Tom. So you could still have that. But I would save the whole thing with her unborn child until you think, oh, they've escaped. But then she winds up dying because her unborn child kills her, and then uh, Tom winds up uh, playing some baseball with the kids' heads and shoots a bunch of them up with the gun, and then gets away on the boat, and then that's how I would have ended the movie. It's already tragic and messed up enough as it is. You don't need to have the twist ending where the children win and Tom gets shot by the authorities because they think that he's attacking the children. And then the children wind up going to the mainland and they're going to spread this curse to all the other children and possibly the rest of the world. And I'm like, great, all right, whatever. I know a lot of people love those kind of endings, those bleak, dark, twisted endings. I don't mind them if I feel like the film has earned it. I didn't really feel that way about this movie. It felt like another cheap shock value kind of thing. This whole movie had this kind of cheap shock value vibe to it. And it didn't really help that a lot of the stuff with the kids, it felt like it pussied out, it wimped out. You're gonna show me Mondo footage in the beginning, but you're gonna have like a bunch of aftermath shots of the kids. You're gonna cut away from the kids doing these atrocities, the kids killing people. Like really? You're gonna take the artistic route there, but you're gonna show me actual footage of Nazi concentration camps in the beginning. Uh, but oh, God forbid, show the kids actually kill anybody in brutal fashion. And also this whole like what who can kill a child and oh no, we can't possibly do that and why are the children doing this? There was just so much in this script that just felt like padding and just dragging shit out. There's no reason for this movie to be an hour and 50 minutes. This is an hour and 50 minutes. And it dragged so much because for like the first 50 minutes, pretty much nothing happens. You see some dead bodies get washed up on the beach. There's a dead body in the market when Tom goes to get some food. And numerous scenes of Tom and his wife just being completely clueless. Tom and Evelyn just not picking up on all of the red flags and all of the signals that this is an empty ghost town and that there are no adults. There's nobody here except kids. This is creepy. We need to get the hell out of here. And the fact that the boats were already there, the boats were still there. The boat was still there at the dock by the end of the movie. So they could have left at any point. But no, let's stay here and investigate and look around and just try to puzzle together why everybody is missing. Who cares about the mystery? People are gone. There's nobody here. They're not having a siesta. I'm not about to get killed. I'm out of here. But no, no, no. They're still just hanging around. Go to the hotel, ring the doorbell, not the doorbell, but ring the bell for service like everything's normal. They keep getting these phone calls from this woman who you find out is a woman who was hiding from the kids. But then she winds up getting killed later, so that seemed to be rather pointless because because Tom never really got to her in time. You get some exposition from this one man who lived on the island, who's a father, and he was hiding from the kids. And he tells the story of what happened the night before. The kids just all of a sudden just went crazy and just started killing people. And his kids killed his wife, and he grabbed a shotgun and was thinking about shooting them. But then he was like, no, I can't do it. And I'm like, why the fuck not? They killed your wife. They killed all these other people. I honestly, I would not have hesitated. I would have pulled the trigger until there were no shells left, and then those little bastards would have had to have taken me down with their bare hands, and I would have been fighting them the entire way through. Uh, I just I get it, they're kids, but they're murderous. They have killed people. They have killed an entire town of people. I don't have any sympathy anymore. And this script seems to try to they're children. Think of the children. All the horrible things happen to the children, and this movie is the children fighting back. And I'm like, so they win in the end? So they kill innocent people. That's your message. You're trying to have some social commentary about how in war kids are affected badly, and they're the ones that get the brunt of things, and they're the ones that suffer the most. And then you're gonna paint the kids just as monstrous as the people in war. That doesn't make any sense. What message are you trying to convey here? What message are you trying to say? And like I said, it doesn't really help either that the two leads, they're not the brightest bulbs. And there's just numerous moments where they just drag their feet and don't do anything until it's too late. And then you have the ending, which I honestly saw coming because I've seen a lot of these kind of movies where it just seems like, yeah, you're going to try to do some kind of twist ending where the kids are going to win. We're going to try to have some social commentary where, oh, we can't possibly think the kids are guilty, and then kill the adult, shoot him, and then the kids go on to, I guess, enact their revenge on the rest of the world for the suffering that they've been dealt with, or the suffering that they've experienced. Uh, Throughout the years. I just I did not like this story. I did not, honestly, that's a big reason why I didn't really care for this movie. Like it starts off badly with Mondo footage, then it doesn't really get much better from that point on. Then it's just a lot of wandering around this empty town, some good atmosphere, some good direction, but it doesn't save a script and a story that's just not really that exciting or interesting. It's honestly more boring than anything else. I thought it was a slow burn kind of thriller that never really went anywhere. Like they started something, and the match never got lit, or it was lit but it went out, and it was just nothing but like an ember, or it just felt like a typical slow burn thriller that has all the elements of a slow burn thriller but without the thrills. That's honestly how I felt about it. And like I said, it doesn't help either that the characters are just not really the most likable. And even if you did like Tom, he gets a pretty shitty end. He gets screwed over at the end of the movie. So even if you liked his character, too bad, so sad. He gets shot in the end and dies. I just prefer my Killer Kid films to be like Cooties, or Beware Children at Play, or The Children. This just really wasn't my kind of thing. Wasn't my personal cup of tea when it comes to a story. And I felt that there were a lot other Killer Kid movies that took this concept and ran with it and did better and were a lot more memorable, and a lot more entertaining. The cast, it's not the worst in the world, but it's also not that great. Lewis Fiander and Prunella Ransome, who play Tom and Evelyn, They're an okay couple, but they're not the kind of couple that has the best chemistry or the most charisma. So it doesn't really make for that engaging of a duo to follow throughout the entire movie. It's the kind of couple that you would expect to be kind of in the background in another story, but now they're up front and center, and it doesn't really work that well. It's not that effective. The rest of the cast, I mean, there's just a bunch of kids who, when they're not trying to be cute, they're trying to look fearsome and scary by just staring blankly at the camera. And it just looks like they're tired most of the time. And then the other adults, they're just kind of there too when it comes to the performances, like Antonio Aranzo as Padre, and Marisa Porcel as Britt Vander Holden, and Luis Siguez as Enrique Amoros. The cinematography by Jose Luis Alquin is honestly pretty great. It's a really nice looking film. There's some great looking shots in this on more than one occasion. And I think he really meshes his approach and his style well with the director, Serrador. The editing by Antonio Ramirez de Loesa and Juan Serra, it has its moments. There are some scenes of chaos and um, when the kids are attacking, when the editing really is rather strong and adds to the suspense. But then there's other moments where the editing, I don't know, just felt like there could have been some tighter edits when it comes to some scenes because they kind of languish a little bit too long, and just kind of sit there. And the music by Waldo de los Rios I liked. Kind of reminded me of like a Ruggero Deodato cannibal movie. It's that kind of music that's kind of upbeat and uplifting, but has like a tragic undertone to it and a bit of creepiness. So I did like the music. So it's not a complete and total miss for me, but it's just not a film that I would ever watch again. There were some things about it that definitely were worth watching. The direction, some of the elements of the script. I mean, I give it credit for when it does actually decide to have some cojones. When you have the scene when Tom breaks out the gun and then mows down a group of children. It doesn't commit to it though, because he throws the gun away. Why? Was it, did he run out of bullets? Is that why? Or was it just like, oh, I'm so disgusted. I can't believe I did that. I'm like, they killed your wife. They forced your unborn child to murder your wife from the inside. Fuck those kids. like, like seriously. But no, he felt bad. And he takes out as many as he possibly can near the end, but it's eventually just he's overrun by them. You know, they stab him multiple times, and then he gets shot by the authorities. So doesn't end well for him. But at least he put up a fight. I think you know, Penefel, he gave Tom uh, a pretty decent uh denouement if it wasn't for like the bullshit with the authorities shooting him. I would have rather, if you were gonna have him go down, like have him just go down fighting, just take down all the kids, as many of the kids as you possibly can. Maybe set something up where he takes one of the oil drums and then blows himself up along with the rest of the kids. If you want to go with that kind of uh uh ending where he doesn't make it, but at least you have it where, yeah, I don't make it, but you little bastards aren't making it either. I'm ending this shit right here and now. But no, that's not what happens. Instead, it tries to once again try to be some kind of social commentary, but it falls flat, at least in my personal opinion. So, yeah, I know this has its fans. It's got a cult following. There are people who really love this, think it's a gem, but not for me. Um, Maybe with a better script that had less padding, that had more that was going on, um, had more of a satisfying conclusion, had better characters. Maybe if you had a better cast, then maybe this could have been a gem. It could have been something that I would consider to be one of the best killer kid movies. But as it is, it's one of those films that I watch one time and then just forget about it. Really, it's mostly forgettable. Other than the just the abhorrent and just upsetting Mondo footage that starts the film. But anyway, that's my thoughts on Who Can Kill a Child. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later. See ya.